As the war howls on against the spawn of hell, the veil between worlds grows thin. Across the scorched face of the earth, the faithful do not sleep. They suffer. Their dreams are no longer their own. Twisted visions claw their way into waking thought. Bloody, divine. Revelations burned into the mind by unseen hands. Whispers from the messengers of God echo through fractured psyches, their words a song of command and agony. Sisters of the holy orders wake screaming, blood weeping from fresh stigmata. They rise clutching sword and cross, eyes hollowed by celestial fire. They were chosen, marked by wounds not of this world, driven by a will that is not theirs. Sinners, too, feel the call. Murderers, thieves, and those with secrets rotting in their souls. They seek not forgiveness, but atonement through violence, to drag as many heretics and horrors into the abyss with them as they can, before the trumpet sounds their name. And so they come, the mad and the maimed, the God-touched and the guilt-ridden, the broken ones who believe they were mended by flame. They gather like storm clouds around prophets and prophetesses, eyes wild, mouths full of scripture and blood. These ragged messiahs lead their flocks in disordered pilgrimages to the front, trench pilgrims bound not by discipline, but by the shared delirium of holy war. There are no uniforms, no ranks, only zeal and weaponry torn from rusted graves, ancient muskets, cleavers, scourges, iron crucifixes filed to blades, bottles of fire held aloft like offerings. Their weapons are relics of hate, sanctified only by their wielder's conviction. They are not sanctioned. The Holy See does not claim them. Yet still the Church blesses the war they march to die in, because faith needs no permission to bleed. On the battlefields of the Trench Crusade, the pilgrim processions are a familiar terror. They charge across no man's land, screaming prayers and curses, their bodies broken by barbed wire and machine fire. But they keep coming, driven by visions seen only through the eyes of the prophets, urged onward by castigators, priests of pain who snap barbed whips and chant psalms soaked in blood. Their duty: instill the fear of God into those already beyond fear. Most are peasants, outcasts, souls who have never wielded a weapon before, but once they don the iron carote, that crude, sealing armor of the trench pilgrim, they move with the certainty of the damned, and even demons hesitate. For some, death is not the end. The seventh Metachrist, ever watchful, may find one among them worthy of resurrection. A fallen pilgrim is sometimes lifted again, restitched by the divine into something other. A martyr penitent, neither alive nor truly dead, moving through the mire of war without pain, their nerves silenced, their soul ablaze with divine hate. They feel nothing. They remember everything. But even among the damned, there are worse things. The stigmatic nuns, holy sisters of agony. They venerate the third Metachrist, whose death wounds they mirror. Their flesh splits with every prayer. Their blood spills with every strike. And the more they bleed, the stronger they become. These warrior nuns wade into the slaughter with pistol and sword, each wound a badge of grace. Each scream a hymn. They pray not for protection, but for pain, for it brings them closer to Him. They are the vengeance of heaven made flesh, and at the very front of these death marches walk the ecclesiastic prisoners. Once enemies of the faith, now tools of its final judgment. Some were captured, others volunteered. All are fitted with high charges. A final redemptive act strapped to their chests, a last prayer waiting to ignite. Behind them, towering like saints of steel and hatred, march the shrine anchorites, metal colossi, 12, sometimes 15, feet tall, walking altars of war draped in rust and relics. They are indestructible in the eyes of the faithful, immutable icons of pain and power. But inside, oh, inside, it is hell. The monk who pilots the machine is nailed within. The interior is a cathedral of torment, laned with spikes, flensing hooks, and chains that pierce the flesh. Their screams are hymns, their agony a holy offering, to suffer as their Lord once did. Their weapons are divine atrocities, wheels of adamantine lined with blades, crushing sinners and heretics beneath sacred weight. Those not pulped are hung, strung across the spinning wheels, torn bodies left as a warning. This is the cost of defiance. There is no unity among the pilgrims, only a vast and nightmarish variety of sects, each one more extreme in its sacred madness than the last. The penitents of pious revenge worship Saint Olga. Their gospel is flame. They come armed with fire bombs, incendiary rounds, and chemical prayers that burn through flesh and soul alike. The pilgrims of the Iron Path venerate Saint Rita of Cassia. They wield great cudgels and war hammers and drive nails into their own skulls in memory of her martyrdom. With every blow they suffer, their zeal deepens. The Thean Legion of Rome fights for Saint Maurice. They impale the severed heads of heretics upon their standards, counting each skull as a sacred tithe. They wield swords with theatrical brutality, competing in sacred slaughter. The profession of the sacred affliction fights in brutal proximity, close enough to smell the heretic's final breath. Their armor is etched with icons and splattered with gore. Each carries a millstone, not for war, but to bind around the throats of the damned before they drown them in blood and mire. And always at their center stands the anchorite, a moving sanctum of horror and holiness. Black smoke belches from its engine, its frame howling with the sound of prayer trumpets and tortured gears. Holy relics are riveted into its plates, bones of saints, prayer scrolls etched in blood, charms of ash and teeth. Each anchorite is ancient, each a relic of war, firstborn in the fortress monastery of Valad, Greater Moravia. Hundreds were made under Saint Methodius, before the monastery was swallowed in fire by the demon Morosi. The craft is gone, the secret lost, but the war walkers remain, the last of their kind, and the pilgrims will never give them up. To them, the anchorite is more than a weapon. It is a god machine, a focus of prayer and death. Once the pilot enters, they never leave. When death comes, whether in fire or slow rot, their remains are enshrined within, bones placed in reliquaries, their flesh preserved in sanctified oils. They become part of the machine, holy, eternal. In battle, the anchorite brings death with a wheel and a hammer, a massive adamantine Catherine wheel, an immense bonebreaker mace. With these, it executes God's vengeance, pulverizing heretics, crushing the damned beneath divine wrath. It is not uncommon for pilgrims to beg for martyrdom before battle, to be tied to the wheel, to die upon it, to become part of it. They believe this suffering grants power to the machine, spiritual protection through sacrifice. The Church forbids the practice, but the pilgrims care little for the Vatican's fear. They come in droves before every battle, kneeling at the feet of the anchorite, pleading to die well. The God-chosen lead them, the elite, the scarred, the ones who've tasted death and begged for more. They are not elected, they are anointed. Marked by divine violence crowned in flame, they command with a fanatic's charisma. The war prophets, burning-eyed heralds of the end times. They have gazed into Revelation, into the screaming abyss of Armageddon, and found not despair, but purpose. Their sermons are not spoken, they are broadcasted, vomited from a dozen rusted loudspeakers mounted to their robes and flesh, blaring scripture, damnation and prophecy in equal measure. Their words crash like thunder across the trenches, driving the Trench Pilgrim processions to maddened frenzy. The faithful rush forward with bloodied eyes and trembling lips, longing not for victory, but vengeance. They do not fear. They cannot doubt. They march toward the world's ending and welcome it with open arms. Beside them, always watching, always judging, march the castigators, orthodoxy incarnate, priests of pain and punishment, charged with preserving the sanctity of belief with whip, brand, and nail. They are not promoted. They are chosen by madness, by holy torment, by a warped, crystalline faith that cuts deep into the soul. Their eyes are vacant. Their hands are steady. They punish heresy with sacred fury and mete out divine correction with merciless resolve. They hear the voices of the saints and obey them without question. Then come the communicants. Monstrous, blessed, damned, these zealots consume the sanctified flesh and blood of the metrist and are transformed. Their bodies swell with unholy strength, their wounds close by miracle or madness. Even blind they see, guided not by eyes, but by the burning hand of faith nailed across their brows. Cruciform spikes pierce their faces, their mouths chant broken hymns, their hands wield weapons no mortal could lift. They are line breakers, bodyguards of prophets, executioners of the holy will. They walk through bullets as if through rain, oblivious to pain, drunk on divine purpose.